We're now going to cover nested conditional statements. This is when if statements appear within other if statements. So within the code block of an if statement, there will be another if statement which will have its own code block. Okay, so to showcase this, we're going to look at these set of rules. There will be 6 different branches, only one of which will get executed. There'll be 2 outer branches based on whether x is even or odd. There'll be 2 numbers first that are set, x and y. So if x is even, we're going to move into a code block where another if statement is run, and based on y, one of these values or one of these 3 will be selected and run. The same thing is if x is odd, then based on y, one of these 3 will be run. Okay, let's go ahead and create this. Let's go ahead and make x and y, just pick 2 numbers, and we'll change them so that each one of the branches is eventually run. So the first thing says if x is even. So we're going to do the modulus operator again, and if the remainder is 0, that means it is even. Then we're going to enter a code block, and this is where the nesting comes in place. That's what that word means. Whenever a statement appears within the same statement underneath it, then we consider it nested. So now we're going to write another if statement. We're going to say if y is less than 10. So if y is less than 10, then we will sum x and y. So we'll just print summing x and y. And this will be, let's just make a new variable here. We'll just say, actually, I'll show you a little trick. This is an f statement. So inside of f strings, we can actually do a expression inside of here. It's not just one variable. You can actually do x and y like this, and x plus y like this, and it'll actually do the calculation and then interpolate the value over there. Okay, so let's run this code and see what happens. And nothing will happen because none of these conditions, or this inner condition, is not met. So the first condition, if x is even, that's true, 20 is even. Y is less than 10, no, that is false. So this will not occur. Now I'm going to create a new branch over here with elif. I'm going to say else if, now y is between 10 and 20, so let's use a chained comparison like this. So say if y is less than or equal or greater than or equal to 10 and less than or equal to 20, and with a colon, press enter, it automatically indents. Notice the indentation over here. This, I didn't mention this, but this code block is now indented even further than the original. So this is 2 indentations in, and that's because we are now nested. Let's go back over here. We will triple x and y and then sum them. And we'll say tripling x and y. Let me not put a dash so it doesn't look like an exclamation point. So we'll do triple x and triple y like this. And now let's run this. So we have x and y. X is 20 and y is 15. When we triple them, that's 60 plus 45 is 105. So that's what gets printed out. Otherwise, so here we go. Now we're going to do this branch, subtract x and y. So here's where an else will come in. So anything else, if x is basically greater than 20, then we will say subtracting x and y. And then we'll do x minus y like this. Let's go ahead and make that happen. Let's make it greater than 20. Let's make it 25. So 20 minus 25 is -5. If we change x to be even, another even number, it'll just be 100 minus 25. That's 75. Let's make this first branch execute. So that's if x is or y is less than 10. So let's make it 5. So we'll do x plus y is 105. Now, if we make x odd, nothing will happen because this first condition is false. So this entire code block is ignored and it just goes down to the end and there's nothing left. So nothing gets executed over here. So now we're going to do the other branch of the original conditional statement. So we finished this whole branch or this whole set of branches. So this is itself a, entire if, elif, else block. This go together. This is not part of this one. It just happens to be inside of it. So this is the nested conditional statement there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to press delete twice, go all the way back to the beginning of the line, and write an else here. This matches with this if. So this else is paired with this if. This is a completely separate conditional statement that gets triggered if we enter this code block. So this is saying if x is odd, basically, there's only two possibilities here. Either you have a remainder of 0 or 1 when you're dividing by 2. So we don't have to say if x modulus 2 is equal to 1. We can just say else. That'll mean it is odd, assuming x is an integer. So now we kind of have the same conditional statement. So I'm actually going to copy and paste this over here, except that now if y is less than 10, we're going to have to do something a little bit different. We're not going to add, we're going to multiply. So let's say multiplying x and y is then x times y. If y is between and 20, we're going to square x and y and then multiply them together. So this will change this. We're going to square them and multiply them together like this. So this is a little bit tricky to see. So the first, we will square each of them. The exponentiation operator has precedence, so that happens first. So these two happen independently. We're going to square x, square y, and then multiplying them together. Squaring x and y, and we'll say then multiplying. So this happens when y is between 10 and 20. So that's what is checked here. So it's the same conditions, but there's just a different operation that happens. Otherwise, divide x and y. We'll say dividing x and y, and then we'll just do x divided by y like this. All right, so let's go ahead and run this a few times. So here x is 101, which means it's odd. So what will happen first, this will get checked. That's false. It will go over here. And then it will look at y. Y is less than 5, or y is 5, so it's less than 10. So it should multiply them together. So 101 times 5 is 505. Let's make x or y 15, so it's between 10 and 15. So now we're going to square x and y and then multiply them together. So this is going to be a pretty large number because we're squaring this one, and then multiplying them. And finally, if it's greater than 20, so let's just choose 21, we will divide them one by another. Okay, so again, this is a separate nested conditional statement that appears within, the else block over here. So you can have any amount of nested statements. They can keep going on and on forever. As a general, tip, it's not good to nest too many things. It's good to have your logic so that there's not too much nesting. You don't want to go like 4 or 5 levels deep over here. It's just very hard to follow as a human being and a programmer to see what are the conditions. You can often do a lot of your logic with just a couple of nested conditional statements, but more than 2 is can be just more difficult to understand what is happening and to understand the code. Okay, so that is an introduction to nested conditional statements.